Afternoon, and welcome to Unplug and Play, a community conversation promoting youth wellness through physical activity. And we're here hosted by the Community Health Endowment of Lincoln. The Community Health Endowment has a simple but bold mission. It's to make Lincoln the healthiest community in the nation. As a part of that mission, we have hosted a youth fitness, sports, and opportunity task force to help young people understand how they can benefit from aerobic fitness and how physical activity can help promote mental wellness, academic success, and building confidence and discipline for the future. For over 10 years, the Community Health Endowment has hosted community conversations like these, which lift up the voices of individuals who have community experience in health-related issues so that we can all learn from our experiences and expertise and think about strategies and opportunities to make our community more healthy. I'm joined this afternoon by an esteemed panel, and I know you'll have questions for them. As you do, please drop them in the chat, and rest assured that a recording will be available for your use after this community conversation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jesse Davey with the Lincoln-Lancaster County Health Department, who will be moderating our conversation today.
Thank you, Kate. Welcome, panelists.
Thank you.
Welcome everyone online and everyone in person here watching us. Today is a pretty important conversation. I'm really grateful to be here with you all. And I want you all to know who we have present with us here for Unplug and Play. So I'm going to start here with Latora. Latora Digma is the Youth Engagement Director at the Bay. At the Bay, Latora leads creative programs in skateboarding, fashion, music, and content creation, all while helping young people feel seen, supported, and empowered to grow into their full, authentic selves. She's passionate about creating inclusive spaces and connecting youth to real-world opportunities through movement, creativity, and community, knowing that staying active is not only supports physical health, but also boosts mental wellness and offers a powerful alternative to the isolation that can come with excessive screen time. So welcome, Latora. And to show some of the value of what you do in your work, you also have brought one of your students with you. So Johnny Gottlieb is a Youth Engagement Associate at the Bay. Johnny is 18, not 17, and recent high school graduate, currently in a gap year. But he started skating there, eventually became a student there, and then graduated from the Bay and is now an employee at the Bay. So it's been pretty powerful in your life. And out of curiosity, how many people follow you on your skate stuff?
I have like 50K on TikTok.
That's
and
what I
like
thought.
4,000 on Instagram.
So a few people have seen him skate. So thanks for being here, Johnny. Good to have you here. And then Dominique Kelly is the CEO of Boys and Girls Club. Coach Kelly has dedicated her career to leadership, mentorship, and youth empowerment. As a former coach and educator, she knows firsthand how movement and fitness can positively impact mental wellness. During her time as a teacher and head coach at Lincoln High, Dominique led the Lynx to a 2023 Class A state finals and was honored with the 2023 Ralph Beechner and Epic Coach of the Year honors, and the 2021 Dr. Barbara Hibner Mentor of the Year award for girls and women in sports and fitness in Lincoln. That's a mouthful. In the 15 years prior to Dominique's arrival, the Lynx had won only 75 games. So Coach takes great pride in the numerous students, athletes that she's guided to the collegiate opportunities. A two-time Nebraska graduate herself with a master's degree in education administration, Dominique helped lead the Husker women's basketball team to a number 3 national ranking, a number 1 NCAA tournament seed, and the program's first ever Sweet 16 appearance in 2010. Good to have you here, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Lawrence Gardner is a licensed mental health practitioner and has been a part of ongoing conversations in this topic and others with us too. But with over a decade of experience supporting individuals of all ages, Lawrence provides individual, family, and group therapy at the Clyde Malone Community Center, among other places as well. And his work is grounded in compassion, which is one of the things you'll see emanate from him, cultural responsiveness, and evidence-based care, with a strong focus on youth and their families. He also incorporates moderate physical movement into therapy, helping clients build emotional regulation, resilience, and a deeper connection to themselves. Thanks for being here, Lawrence.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're actually going to start with you on our questions today. So thinking about the way that physical activity specifically and then mental and emotional wellness are connected, can you give us just a little bit of a sense of what some of the data suggests and is connecting those two?
there is significant research, significant data that connects active participation in physical activity and improve mental health, well-being, the ability to respond more calmly, better impulse control, all the things that are significant to navigate daily challenges. So when you're exercising on a consistent basis, you're basically building the muscles in the brain that need to develop for you to navigate those daily challenges. So I think some of the research would say you could do more exercise and reduce therapy and still see significant improvement in well-being.
Well, and kind of connecting those two things, can you talk a little bit about how physical activity, physical movement can be connected actually as a therapeutic endeavor? Like what does that do for a kid?
Following instructions. So when we use exercise in our work, a lot of it is what kids deal with in the classroom setting. So following instructions, waiting your turn, all those different things that we can replicate in an exercise setting is the same skills that we target when we're using therapy, but we then use those exercises to reach treatment goals as well. So if you could reach it physically, you can reach it emotionally and spiritually as well.
So kind of starting in the body moving in that direction helps
Absolutely.
the mind to kind of move there too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's incredibly helpful kind of focus on that. And then Coach Kelly, kind of moving on, how have you seen that connection between mental health and physical activity show up in your team environments and some of the teams you've coached?
Yeah, mental health is a big thing for me. I've talked with my teams a lot about it, and I was fortunate enough that we had a donor who gave to our program in a mighty way every year, and one of the things that I prioritized was bringing in a sports psychologist to work with our team at the beginning of the school year to just kind of set aside all of the challenges and differences that the students I coach came from and kind of help us come together to kind of reach a common goal. And so we talked a lot about mental health, a lot. We worked on it daily. A big thing for the teams that I coached also was just they had so many distractions going on in their lives, and so when we stepped across the court, we were just trying to be very, very present and in the moment for those 90 minutes. And then any other challenges that they were facing, we could pick them back up after we stepped off the court, but we really try to have that kind of be our safe place for those 90 minutes when we took the court every single day. So
that's powerful. So then thinking about them crossing over that into the court, was that experience on the court helpful then in how they handled their mental stress off the court?
Yeah, I think so. I think it taught them just kind of to the balance of life and how rigorous things can sometimes be, especially as you walk into adulthood. There are always going to be distractions and other things going on, but you have to be really present for the task that's at hand. And then when that thing is over, then you can go back to picking up other things. So.
And did you see a challenge when kids were less physically active kind of before they would move into that time?
Definitely. We had way more challenges when it wasn't basketball season, and that's something we worked really hard to overcome as well.
So were there some things that you recommended your student athletes do that would be off-season helpful in the physical activity space?
I tried to make sure that I was available and prioritize open gym time for them because they needed the structured activity. I've also referred several of my kids to people like Lawrence because I think it's just very necessary. It's something that I live my own life by, and so we've done numerous things to engage and help kids get the mental health and support that they need.
That's awesome. I love that there's a connection on and off the season in the court, and that there ultimately comes back down to the same principles, it sounds like, too.
Yeah.
So Johnny, thinking about being physically active, something that you love like skating and maybe other things too, talk about how it affects your mood or it just changes your emotions.
Really hopping on a skateboard really changes your mood a lot because it's like an escape from actual things that are going on outside of skateboarding. So like hopping on it and riding it and just having a feel on the board just feels like you're not dealing with anything else in your life.
And those sessions are pretty helpful for when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we're going to shift gears a little bit here. A lot of the input that we got online before this, the questions dealt with screen use, which is part of what we're talking about here. And Lawrence and I have had this conversation. but thinking about the way that screens affect us and how that gets in the way of some of these things we're talking about. Johnny, going back to you real quick, can you share of a time when you were on your phone or you were kind of connected and then disconnecting from that, and how that helped your mental health and getting active instead?
Yeah. So I usually sometimes I'll be at home when I'm not at work, and I'll be on my phone, and I'm realizing that I'm just scrolling away on my phone. So I just want to do something, get more active. I go outside, just go to the basketball court, see what my friends are doing, just have a fun time with them.
And that changes.
It changes a
change
lot
for you, yeah. Probably feel a whole lot more human at that point.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's awesome. So, and for anyone, so any of the panelists here, what strategies have you seen that work to help kids find a better balance between screen time and physical activity?
Just from my work, I would say the most significant piece to that is supervision. If you leave kids to themselves, yeah, they're gonna choose the phone. But if you do have a adult in your life, I would encourage these adults to, take that courageous step and say, hey, put the phone down and go outside and play. And it doesn't always have to be a sport, right? Take your dog on a walk, go play tag, go walk in the rain, jump around, just go be in nature, connect in different ways other than what we're doing on social media. But I do think that a significant part of that is adult supervision and adult participation, because a lot of times these screens are raising our children.
And so then maybe that puts us on point too as adults of how we're using our own screens too. Absolutely. A little bit. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I love that you talk not only about kind of sport related, but just also nature as a piece of that. I know that's been a big piece for you too. Can you talk a little bit more about the connection, being out in nature physically, and how that changes some things?
When I initially moved to Nebraska, there was nothing that I knew about the Midwest, because I came from Los Angeles, California. And then we started taking trips to Denver, Colorado. And that's really when I discovered that water is kind of a nature thing for me. I call it my sabbaticals now when we go to Colorado, because water has become so significant. So even now when it rains, I'll go walk outside and just sit out in the rain, or I'll sit out on my porch just so I could be around water. But it also gives me an opportunity to disconnect as well. So it's my opportunity just to kind of connect to something other than screens, and to connect to what I would say is our first love, which is nature and our planet.
Thank you. No, that's awesome. So for others, things that you've seen work on getting kids disconnected from devices and out engaging activities specifically.
I think another thing that worked really well during my time at Lincoln High was I had the girls over to my home a lot, and we traveled a lot of places together. And one of the things I required of them was actually when we got on the bus or when they were in my home that they couldn't use their cell phones.
Okay.
And in the beginning it was very difficult, but it became something that was very natural, and it wasn't really linked to aerobic fitness or anything, but I just wanted them to engage and take the time to spend with other people and get to know their teammates a little bit better. So that was something that I incorporated that always worked really well for me.
Giving them the opportunity to be screen-free in that context. That's awesome. Yeah. Others?
Yeah, similar to what Lawrence and Dominique both said, I think it's important as adults we set that example for kids. At the Bay, we say a lot that we meet kids where they are, and sometimes it is their phones. It's important to engage in conversations with kids. If you create opportunity for them to have conversation with you, once you repeat that cycle of let's talk, let's connect, let's build trust within each other, it just creates opportunities for students to kind of, when they enter that space, they would rather go straight to that youth engagement staff, that team member in that safe space that they have found similar to home, but they kind of gravitate towards us before they gravitate towards their phone, because they have built that connection, they've built trust with the peers. So the initial stage, I tell our staff, yes, we need to meet kids where they are, figure out what you can connect with them on, and then just build relationships from there. But that key, I would say, foundation to helping kids kind of separate from their screens and just kind of scrolling away, like Johnny said. Diving into just the world of social media is that initial connection stage, meeting them where they are and building connection and conversation with them.
So it's definitely a theme from both of you, and I know that's something that you've talked about as well, Lawrence, of the pathway out of a pattern often is a relationship or connection through relationships. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add to the relational piece of that, getting kids active.
I mean, I think Dominique and Latour said it perfect. That relationship is everything. It's the most significant part of any child's well-being is that relationship. So use that to engage kids and direct kids in the direction that they should go.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, so shifting a little bit again here, thinking about some takeaways and practical steps for youth and parents in our community. So Latour, first for you, how can we create inclusive, engaging opportunities for youth to be physically active, especially in under-resourced communities and among refugee or vulnerable populations?
Yeah, I would say for me, or what we try to show in the Bay, is that piece of representation. I think it's important for students to see themselves in the adults that they find safety in. And a lot of the times in, different cultures, the discussion of mental health is still very stigmatized. So it does wonders to have people from different cultures in your space who may share the same upbringing as you, openly discuss mental health and the effect it's had on their upbringing or where they are currently in life. But yeah, just having that representation in the spaces that kids should feel safe and should feel comfortable in is key to all of that.
That's huge. I guess one piece I'm wondering about in all of this is thinking about it sometimes seems overly simplistic that it can be that helpful to get a kid moving. Like it's too simple to affect some of the really big emotional challenges that kids are experiencing. Can you talk about why it actually is that important and that simple? I'm not sure if I've asked the question right. Yeah. So partly it seems like just getting a kid moving, and especially I'm thinking of the context you're talking about, it feels overly simplistic, but ultimately is a pretty important solution, if that makes sense.
I think moving is natural to who we are. I think we're as human beings, I think we're designed to move, to engage and experience life in an active way. So I think it's simple in that sense because it's natural to who we are. I think where it has become complicated is that we know that these devices through the sciences are compared to like drug use, the part of the brain that it feeds. So you can become very addicted to these games because of the part of the brain that it satisfies. So that's the part that makes it very complicated, is that it's convincing kids like you're addicted to your phone. Right? That's the difficult conversation, because when you use that word, now you have to say, okay, this is hurting you. Well, playing Call of Duty for 5 hours doesn't seem like it's hurting you, but it actually is, because of the part of the brain that is satisfying. And it does make it a lot more difficult to then say, I want to go outside.
That's huge. That ultimately is the bigger challenge.
Yeah.
It's not quite the dopamine hit that you're getting from a phone.
Absolutely.
No, I appreciate that for sure. Johnny, question for you. What advice would you give to kids who want to use physical activity as a way to feel better?
I would say do it. It gives you more room to give yourself more challenges and set bigger goals for yourself.
That's huge. Okay. Thank you, man. And for anyone, how can families, schools, and community organizations work together to connect youth with accessible activities and mental health resources?
I think collaboration is super important. I feel often in the youth engagement space, we tell people youth engagement is not one size fits all. We may offer, like at the Bay, we may offer opportunities that don't really connect with youth, but then we may have a partner organization like the Boys and Girls Club that may offer something a little different and fits that need of the student. But you don't know what to give if you're not collaborating as a whole. So it's important for those of us in that youth engagement space to connect with each other, and that creates opportunities for us to better serve the youth in our community and just give them a wide variety of opportunities and programs that they can engage in.
Perfect.
Anything for parents? I'm still thinking about, the community partnerships that are engaging, but sometimes you can feel, as a parent, like you're a little disconnected from those things too.
I think my advice to parents sometimes is attend that practice. Join in, help, rebound, go through the drills with the kids. Like, it creates a connection that could be fun for you as well. And it definitely creates buy-in for the kids when they see you participate. So don't just drop your kid off and then take off, right? Or when you're at school, hang around for a little bit. And when schools have these events at the end of the school year where it's like free play, try to attend some of those things. I think you can create a deeper connection with the school and bring back that relationship between school and families as well.
That's great. Maybe relive some of your own glory days too in the
Absolutely.
if the knees allow. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So we're going to transition to questions from our Zoom audience here pretty quickly. So if you have questions, things that you want to have our panelists answer, please go ahead and send those in, and we'll go from here. It looks like we have some already. Thank you, Morgan. All right, so this is for the Bay, this first one here. It says that the Bay has programs including Technology for Good. What are strategies we can take to balance the good versus the bad with screens? So teaching them how to use it and then...
Yeah, I think, again, as adults, it's important for us to set an example, and kids need that structure. I feel when you are creating space for kids to engage in, like, social media, technology, they're learning about graphic design, content creation, you have that structure, but then you still open up a window for students to incorporate that physical activity piece. So definitely setting, it's important for us to set an example, structure as well, but then give kids that space to kind of explore different things. But yeah.
Okay. So kind of boxing each thing and then also modeling, it sounds like both.
Yes. Sure.
Thank you, that's awesome. Any other thoughts on that one? Just on the strategies between the good and the bad of technology. Obviously, it's here to stay.
I love the idea of, especially like at the Malone Center, we've started like an anti-crash out campaign. So you can actually try to get kids to join these campaigns, and the idea is, hey, 30 days of positive post, and at the end of those 30 days, we'll do some type of incentive. But using those devices to actually kind of get them to join in this community development, community health approach.
Which is very not intuitive when you think about how the devices are primarily used.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Thank you for that example. Okay, this next one says, can someone share a story about a young person who had their mental health positively impacted by physical fitness?
I feel like yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Okay. I coached a young lady who was really struggling, and she was a refugee. Her family had come here, and sharing and opening up about, kind of like Latour was talking about earlier, challenges that you're going through was not like accepted and okay. And so we worked really hard to navigate that. And we got her mom on board, and we got some staff at Lincoln High on board to kind of help support this kid, and she's thriving now. She's doing really, really well, but it was a process, and it took a lot of hard work, and it took everybody kind of collaborating, as Latour spoke of, and getting on the same page to kind of help this kid just push forward. And so,
what was her moment of buy-in? Do you remember? Like, what was it that kind of turned the ship for her?
Honestly, I think she found a lot of solace in me sharing some of the mental health challenges that I had been through, and just normalizing it and making her just know that it's okay, and that there are resources out there that we can help you with to kind of help propel you forward.
That relational connection again. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, others, you have stories?
I have a young man post-COVID who did not return to school, and they sought me out for services, and we used that exercise-based approach. Not only did he return to school, but he returned to school and performed well academically. We knew he had that ability within him, but I think using exercise, and in some cases for the kids who can handle it, our exercise approach could be a little bit more difficult, which then we can use to say, hey, just like you've overcome challenges in the gym, you can overcome challenges in school.
Which kind of goes full circle to what you were saying at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Of that getting the body moving first to
Absolutely.
teach the mind.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Wonderful. But this next question is from a parent. It says, I'm a parent with a teen who's addicted to her phone. I don't want to take it away because we use it for safety, school, etc. What are some first steps I can take to draw some boundaries? Oh, man. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I think that's a great question, because kids right now will tell us, like, hey, these phones are for emergency purposes. And I'm like, well, I went to school for 18 years before phones, and not one emergency ever came up. But they kind of describe this idea that these phones are very important. So I get that part of it. So it can be a safety thing, but how often do safety things come up in a school year? Not very many, not enough to justify having the phone on you at all times. I know that argument does not work for the kid, though. It works for the parent. It's good to understand that safety discussion about phones have become kind of a crutch that kids use to say, I need my phone in case an emergency comes up. How often have you had an emergency? So I would start with that basic premise, but also, if you're cooking in the kitchen, invite your kid to come in, join you, like make cookies together. If you go outside, if you're taking the dog for a walk, don't go by yourself. Invite the kid with you. Don't turn it into a power struggle over the phone. If they're walking with you and they have their phone, that's a start. That's a win-win, at least in the beginning, right? No one has to lose in that situation. So invitations.
That's awesome. Yeah. Any other thoughts for this parent?
That's literally what I was going to say. Find subtle moments where you can start really small, like dinner, going on walks, things like that, where you can just incorporate your kids into those moments. That's what we do.
Yeah. And then modeling might be a pretty important part of that too. It's amazing how we can expect things of our kids that we don't exactly share those same patterns. So this next one we have is from a mentor with a teammate. How can I encourage my teammate to be more active and be on her screen less when I only see her once per week? I don't know. Seems like a therapeutic opportunity to some degree.
I mean, I've seen teammates in the schools when we go into schools, and I know schools have been very open to the idea of walking through the hallways. That would probably be a good place to start, is just walking through the hallways when you visit with your student.
Awesome. Any other thoughts? You only have one chance per week. It's throwing down some kind of a challenge there. And
I think similar to kind of meeting the kids where they are, I feel you can turn a lot of things into an opportunity to incorporate physical activity in it. At the Bay, we do like fashion programs. The kids are there for fashion, but we figure out different ways to get them into a space, like the skate park. Get them engaged in different ways, whether they're not interested in skateboard. I don't skateboard. But I do lead our fashion program, but we take an opportunity to get kids outside of, they have found comfort in that fashion room, not so interested in the other pieces of programming because they have a love for this one thing. But we try to kind of guide them into another setting and incorporate just different ways we can engage in that physical activity, whether it's something as simple as a game, Red Rover, there's a lot of different things. You get kids excited, you get them moving, and that just is a gateway into just different physical activity opportunities.
And it almost seems like that would be different depending on the age of the student, potentially too, not only the interest, but can you talk a little bit about depending on what kids are, you're talking to?
I mean, I feel kids are just kids. I feel all kids, regardless of age, there's an enjoyment. They find joy in a lot of the same things. We may go about it in a different way, but I feel like physical activity is something that is just, it can touch a 4-year-old up to 18. Physical activity, I don't think it's catered to a specific age. Like our kids in fashion camp, they play Duck, Duck, Goose. Like that's something I'm thinking like, oh, we did that in elementary school, but these are older middle school, high school age students that they're retreating back to that thing that they found comfort in, found joy in at such a young age. But I think just physical activity in whole is not, it's just it's wide. There's not, this is targeted to just elementary age kids. But yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, the next one says, what is the best way to help youth get connected to a physical activity that they enjoy?
I think just exposing them to many different things as early as possible. Kind of not boxing them in, but giving them opportunities to explore whatever they're interested in, and sometimes even things they're not interested in. Like we had a conversation, my husband and I had a conversation about that a few days ago, about how when we were growing up, sometimes we did things we didn't really want to do. Our parents made us do those things, and we've kind of retreated away a little bit from that. But I think the early exposure to many different things, and there has to be accessibility and kind of all the things we talked about on the task force with that. But I think the early exposure would certainly help with that.
That's great. Any other thoughts there? Best ways to help get kids connected to physical activities?
I think Dominique definitely said it, that exposure piece. I think when a lot of people think of physical activity, their head goes towards the traditional sports, basketball, football, track and field, and something like skateboarding is so untraditional. But I feel like the elements in the act of skateboarding, it opens up a wide just variety of conversation when it comes to mental health. When you're skating, you're pushing on a skateboard, you're falling. I wish I could bubble wrap all the kids we have come into our space, but there's a lot of you're pushing, you're falling, you're setting goals. Oh, I want to hit this trick. I want to go down this ramp. And that alone builds so much emotional resilience, and the kids don't realize it. We say a lot of the times that our goal is to make it fun. We make it fun for the kids, but underneath, like multiple layers, they are building so many different social and emotional skills that they're not aware of. But definitely, like when you expose kids to just a wide variety of different things that may seem untraditional to us as adults, that can unlock a lot of doors and the want to engage in those different physical activities, and can further just open up the conversations for how to better serve yourself and your mental health.
That's awesome. How important is it at the beginning that they actually enjoy it?
They don't have to. I don't think it's super important. I mean, like I mentioned, our fashion kids, they come into the space and I'm here for fashion, and that's it. And then they slowly fall in love with skateboarding. I love skateboarding. We'll never skate though, but it's when you see kids celebrate all of these wins, you yourself I want to be a part of that. Like, I want to work on this goal and accomplish this win, and I want to be celebrated, and I want to celebrate other people. I don't know, skateboarding is just so exciting. And me at the back, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like he did this. What's that trick again? Oh, but he got it. It's a very, you're celebrating each other, you're celebrating yourself, and you may not find joy in it at the beginning because you're falling. Johnny probably falls. He falls all the time. A lot of our staff
Not on
does.
film.
But that part may seem so scary, but when you give yourself the space and the opportunity to learn and fail, and you could do that in a safe setting like the Bay, like, you never know. 5 years from now, I mean, Johnny was the opposite, I feel. He started as a skateboarder, and now he's getting into the fashion space. So there's a lot of cross-collaboration in our programs where kids may come in for one thing, and then they surprise themselves getting interested in a completely different program.
That's awesome. Well, so I kind of want to throw that out to the other panelists, too. This emphasis on the kids having to have fun from the beginning, or having it always be something that they enjoy, doesn't feel very practical, especially in the area of mental wellness. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, I agree with Latour and Dominique 100% in the idea of exposing kids to things. But, you know, what I have come to understand from the mental health side, that there is some anxiety that goes into experiencing a new activity. So there's that anxious experience of going down the roller coaster for the first time. And then once you've done it, now you want to repeat it and do it over and over again. But that initial fear that kids want to take that path of least resistance, like, I don't want to do that. However, once you experience something, and then you can kind of, once you get past that initial anxiety, then you can start to enjoy it. But I think initially, a lot of times, it's not that kids don't want to do it, they have to work through that anxiety that comes with trying something new.
That's huge. Thank you. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Enough
You said
said.
it perfect. Yeah.
Enough said. All right. Perfect. Okay. And our next one says, I live in a rural community. I think a lot of the kids in my community would benefit from having a safe space to learn how to be well. What are some of the tips to start something like this in my small town?
Well, living in Milford, Nebraska, living in a small town, I think towns can, you have so much opportunities. Club bike ridings, dog walks. There's a lot of things that we could just kind of do together. Because those small towns, at 6 or 7 o'clock, the streets are empty, right? So there's lots of opportunities for group walks. I know my wife takes our dog for a walk a lot. It'd be nice if you tried to do that with the whole community.
That's great. Well, and it's easier when you know everybody and you're going to see everybody as well. Start anywhere. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so are your organizations collaborating with LPS is this next one. And how are we bringing these opportunities basically to the school? I think is the question.
Yeah, the Boys and Girls Club collaborates with LPS. We're one of the community learning centers. And basically we have priority outcomes in 3 areas, which are healthy lifestyles, academic success, and good character and citizenship. And so every day in those 3 areas, over the course of about 8 weeks, we bring programming that is kind of tailored to what the kids have told us they want to do in those 3 areas, and we promote programming and just try to expose them to as much as possible. So LPS is a huge supporter of what we're doing, and we're super grateful for their partnership.
That's great. Can you, for those who don't know the community learning centers, can you talk a little bit about that concept?
Yes, so community learning centers exist in Title I schools. So we are at Park Middle School, North Star High School, and Lincoln High. And each of those Title I schools has a CLC program, and we're the lead agency at 3 of those sites. Okay. So I believe there are about 20 different lead agencies, and we're the lead agency at those 3 schools.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yeah, we are partnered with LPS in just a wide variety of ways. We have a high school focused program in partnership with Lincoln Public Schools.
It's about as close as you can get to LPS, I think.
Very close. And we, our kids are exposed to just a wide variety of things. They have an opportunity to skate during school, and that we're incorporating that physical activity in a different way. And then from there, we also have after school programming where we partner with different middle schools, elementary schools, and high schools within LPS. And we program with them during those after-school key hours. And we offer it in a couple different ways. We can bring our skate tools, our helmets, skateboards, ramps to these off-site schools and program there. Or we have vans that we can transport students to. So we try to take away that accessibility barrier by either bringing kids to us via our vans and transporting them, or we bring our programs to the students.
That's awesome. That's great. And then I know through the Malone there's a lot of connection there too. But
yes, John Goodwin, who's the executive director of the Malone Center, also just won a seat on the school board. Yes, so he is definitely trying to facilitate and foster that deeper relationship between community centers and LPS.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Looks like the last one I have here is I'd like to volunteer my time to help youth be more active. Do your organizations have volunteer opportunities?
Lots of them. Can you start today? We do a lot of different programs, skateboarding, fashion, gaming, content creation, all different programs you can fuse into physical activity. But there's a lot of different opportunities to engage with our youth on a volunteer level. But yeah, reach out and we can get you where you fit in.
You don't have to be able to skate.
I don't skate, clearly, but you don't have to be a specialist in any of those things. I think as long as you are willing to engage with kids, that's a big start. A lot of the times kids just need that different person in their safe space to connect with. So you don't have to be a professional at all to feel like I'm good for this student because I'm a pro, or I've done this for 50 years. It's that conversation and relationship piece is just what's missing from a lot of kids, and that's the best place to start.
It's a very human thing. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah.
And the Boys and Girls Club is also always looking for volunteers, so you can just head over to our website, which is lincolnbgc.org, and there's a volunteer link there, and we're always looking for consistent adults to show up and mentor our youth.
Can you give a little, what would a volunteer do kind of in those contexts?
Yeah, so they would assist with our programming. We have youth development professionals who kind of oversee that programming, but they would just assist in a variety of different capacities with our programming.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I know Malone does as well. But
absolutely.
Okay.
Most of the volunteers that come to the Malone now are like UNL students. So, yeah, very activity-based, interacting, playing with the kids, getting involved in the games, and yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Johnny, did you start as a volunteer?
Yeah.
And then eventually became an employee?
Yeah.
So maybe it could even be a paying gig someday. You start from one and move to the next. All right, I got another question here. It says, besides addressing screen use and transportation, what are some other barriers you see youth facing when it comes to being active? And then how do you address them? But yeah.
I think funding is a big thing. Transportation and funding, being able to afford these different opportunities, physical activity programs. There are a lot of private teams and things you have to kind of buy into, and a lot of our students just can't afford that. So what we do at the Bay, we offer free or pay what you can programming. So we want students to all engage regardless of their background, regardless of what they can afford to do. We want to make sure we are not limiting the opportunity for students to engage in what we have to offer.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I saw pretty consistently during my time at Lincoln High was just parent involvement. Families are busy and things are expensive, and lots of parents work multiple jobs to kind of support their kids, and so that was another barrier that we ran into a lot of times.
Well, and so you mentioned earlier just exposure to a bunch of different things, which almost by definition means you can't, you aren't going to be obsessing about a bunch of different, going deep into each of those different skills. What's the value of being having broad interests and not being so focused on one activity?
Yeah, coming from the person who only played once. I think you learn a lot of different things, but how to work with people from different backgrounds, how to fail. I think that's okay too, to not have everything just always go your way and be in your favor. You don't always have to be number one at everything and be front and center. It's okay to just be a role player and maybe be that good teammate. Sometimes I think there's a lot of value in exposing kids to multiple things. So
that's huge. It seems like there's an incredible value in being a part of something as opposed
Absolutely.
to, I think that's been one of the ongoing challenges, I think, is we have this obsessed culture around a lot of these. And what we're saying, I think, today is get active, not be the top, necessarily like you were, the top athlete in your sport. And I think that's maybe something we're missing in the conversation a lot. So I appreciate just the general movement versus, Division I athlete.
Be the best. Yeah.
Have to be the best mentality. Thank you. Okay, we got another question here. Are there any resources, websites, organizations, books, etc., that parents can use to educate themselves more in this area?
I think there's a ton of online, peer-reviewed, evidence-based research that with ChatGPT could be explained to you like a 5-year-old if you need. But just things that support this idea of what you can do, how you can begin to introduce play and activity into your daily activity and daily lives. But it does begin with what I think all the panelists have said is an adult just kind of leading the way.
Just kind of start, and especially someone that they trust who's engaging.
Absolutely.
It seems like there's an opportunity for humility too there, Lawrence, where as an adult I may not be a skater, but I may show up and try to be a part of that activity.
Absolutely. I mean, we get older, and I think Dominique said earlier that, I don't play basketball anymore because my knees hurt, but that doesn't mean I can't hit you with a water balloon, right? So it's those type of things. It's like, yes, there are barriers, and yes, a lot of things when it comes to sports come with a cost, but there are a lot of things that don't come with a cost. And it's not an hour or 2 hours of activity. It could just be 15 minutes. That 15 minutes can leave a lasting impact and create hope in a kid that, oh, wow, that was special that I got to do this with my dad or do this with my mom or a neighbor or whatever the case may be.
So there was a season in my life where we worked and lived in another place with kids and that were not our own. And when I had my own kids, I realized that stuff got real. And it was easier sometimes with other people's kids than my own. So are there any examples you all want to share of just starting that conversation with your own kids or in a context with kids that are more connected to you, not in your organizations?
I know 15 years ago, my wife started a program in Milford, Nebraska, and it was the idea of stronger bodies, stronger minds. And when we're talking about doing something in a small town, I mean, it was her inspiration that she wanted to start something in a small town that bigger cities had. And we would run hills, we would throw tractor tires and flip tractor tires or jump through tires. And it was just a program that addressed kids and the physical development of the body. And the hope was increased cognitive processing. But those are little things that I think people can just start with an initiative. And if it's your goal to be more active, then that courage and that hope part is just believe in it and do it as often as you possibly can. And time plus effort will show you some results.
That's huge. That's huge. Cool. Any other thoughts there? Okay. Next question. How do you think we can be reaching and including refugee youth? Come with some unique challenges, just the situation alone that brings our community members here. Yeah.
I mean, at the Boys and Girls Club, we don't just do aerobic fitness. We have programming beyond that, but one of the things we've worked really hard to do this year, and it seems really minor, but is to get our registration process translated in multiple different languages. So that's something we worked really hard on. And then another thing that we really pride ourselves on is making our programming very cost affordable for all families. And so we keep that number really low. We actually just raised it this year, but it's $35 for our kids to participate in programming for the entire school year, and it's free for high school age kids. So
I'd say that's pretty affordable. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, other thoughts specifically for our refugee communities?
I think trying to identify what those barriers are is a good start. And like Dominique said, making sure we are offering different things in different translations, so it's recognizable to people in different communities. And one thing we try to do, or an effort we're trying to focus on at the Bay, is our neighborhood outreach. We want to make sure students in our neighborhood, it's a big refugee population on Y Street, so we want to make sure we are walking into the neighborhoods and sharing information about different programs we have. A lot of the times we rely on social media to share a message, share a flyer, and different things like that, but we recognize that the information we share online may not be reaching the neighborhoods that we want to reach. So really like a grassroots effort, going into the neighborhoods, connecting with these schools in the neighborhoods, if they have a suggested way to connect with families in like the refugee populations, or different organizations like Good Neighbor, reaching out to those community centers and schools in those neighborhoods and figure out a strategic way to connect with the students and families that we have surrounding us.
I love the idea of being present in the context. And do you actually skate in and around there, or is it more walking?
They do.
All
I
right.
know.
Right. We've established that maybe someone else would be skating,
Yeah.
but okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Any other thoughts of how we can be more ensuring that we're engaging communities that are not as easy to reach sometimes?
I think Victoria said it earlier when she said meet youth where they are. And if you're talking about refugee youth, you're not talking basketball and football. You're talking football, soccer, and cricket, and different type of sports, which we don't offer. So I think there's room for growth definitely in the area of soccer and some of the sports that internationally kids are more exposed to than we are. You know, here it's baseball, football, or basketball, but overseas, cricket is one of the largest sports in the world as well. I mean, we know about soccer, but creating those opportunities as well where kids can get involved in those type of things.
Cricket is a wild sport to watch.
It is.
I'm so confused by it.
It is.
It's a cool bat, though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
But also thinking about soccer and how approachable it is. You can have a backyard soccer game, immediately without any prep. All you need is a ball. Usually you have to have at least a ball. But other than that, you can pretty much just go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Do you have any ideas for how organizations can collaborate more or better?
The Malone is doing, and then I think naturally through relationships with, like I said, with Dominique, there's always these referrals based upon who we know. I met Mike Smith a long time ago at a conference in Kearney, so it's through these relationships that I think there's more collaboration. Brandon McWilliams, who's a Strength Finders coach at the Lighthouse, who's becoming a therapist that I'm supervising, so now it's fostering these natural connections and then just kind of building on those things on how can we bring our organizations together so we're not replicating things that are already being done, and then we can kind of collaborate and do it at a bigger level.
I love that. I also love the idea of knowing over the course of time who our partners are and growing those connection opportunities. Yeah, others, there's a lot of collaboration in Lincoln. It's a pretty cool community that way, but I'm guessing we have gaps that we need to fill in how we're collaborating. You mentioned the cost. I know that's one of the conversations that's been happening right now around getting kids access, regardless of resources, to some of these. Are there better collaborations you all could see in that space?
For cost?
Yeah,
I mean, I think there's a lot of youth leaders that are doing like free events, and I know like Ishma Valenti just threw like a skate thing at Trago Park, which was a free event. I think if there's any collaboration, it's more so, I hate to say this, sharing stuff on social media. Mm-hmm. So if you're an organization and you see a free event, yeah, share it, promote it. And I think that would be great. I think there's a huge space on social media to advertise some of these free events. And I know Ishma is always doing like business clubs or, like I said, a skate event at a park that's free. But not a lot of people know it except those that are attending the Malone Center. So if you know Ishma and you see him throwing that event, retweet and promote it to the best of your ability so that people can get that information.
That is a big step. And it amazes me how getting to the right audience at the right time changes a whole lot of opportunity and exposure. And also, it's something. I was at a signing day once where they said less than 2% of kids who play sports in high school play at any level post high school. And so ultimately, if we're so focused on the youth team sports that we forget that there's a whole lot of value in being connected to a community. There's a piece in that too. Okay. That is. Oh no, that's not. I'm a liar. No more questions, but feel free to talk about your experiences and the 6 pillars. So this was written privately to me, and I just read it out loud. So I guess there we go. We're learning as we go here. So one thing we do want to talk about, and Lawrence was a part of this conversation early on, is that we have some really neat tools that are called the 6 Pillars for emotional well-being here coming out in our community. And just 2 weeks ago, our mayor and both of our hospital CEOs were communicating through a press conference these opportunities and the videos that will be coming out. So sleep was the first one. And it's amazing to me when you're talking with parents or you're talking with therapists or community members and you're talking about the challenges kids face, and you say things like, what's the effect of not having good sleep on a kid's emotional health? And light bulbs go off. If a therapist will communicate, well, I'm assessing that. That's one of the first things I talk about. But when we think about how healthy a kid is emotionally, often we don't think about that from the perspective of regulating sleep first. Well, in the same way, when we think about how emotionally healthy a kid is, we tend to bypass the fact that when they're moving, they tend to regulate their emotions better as well. So we so quickly move to a therapeutic answer that sometimes we're forgetting about the main things and the baseline things that our therapists are going to ask about anyway. I'm looking at Lawrence because this is how this goes. And so it's a call to our whole community to remember what are the things that bring emotional stability and emotional health. So sleep is number one. In fact, I talked with a pediatrician who said sleep, sleep, and sleep. Those are the top 3, I think. And I think that's right. So if a kid's sleep is dysregulated, guess what? In the same way, you think about after a sleepover, how effective a kid is at regulating their emotions. Pretty poor. So sleep is a main piece of that. Physical activity is another part. The body is made to move. When the body moves, you tend to be able to handle that better. Believe it or not, what we eat and the amount of water we take in actually changes our ability to respond to emotional challenges and stress, or not being able to have proper nutrition. So that's a whole other piece of that. So that's the third part. So we came out with sleep 2 weeks ago. We're coming out with physical activity, and you're going to get a little sneak peek here in a second around physical activity. And then the third video that will be coming out next month will be around nutrition, hydration. Then relational connectedness will be coming out in September, which is a pretty important conversation too, because if you want to talk about a leading indicator for a kid's risk of having suicidal ideation, it's that they're isolated and disconnected. And so the ability to have a strong relationship, strong connection, mentorship, as well. Obviously, family relationships are primary, but it takes less than 45 minutes for a human to have a significant relational connection to another human. One plane ride, short plane ride, could get you a friend. And then there's mastery, things that you enjoy doing that brings value, a sense of accomplishment, Rubik's Cube, up to cello, that a kid can be doing, as well as the sports we were talking about here, which are really, there's an opportunity for a sense of mastery and purpose there too. I'm sure Johnny's felt that with skating, where there's you get something and you land it, and then there's something that brings to you personally and emotionally. And then the last one is the ability to quiet versus the disquiet that goes in our mind. So how can we regulate, which, as Lawrence mentioned earlier, often happens in nature and things like that. So we'll be going through each of these videos, one a month, start it from here on out, ending in November. And we'd ask for you to come along on that journey with us. So we are going to show you a little sneak peek here on physical activity that should be coming up in a second.
It's hard to find an area of health that physical activity doesn't affect. In general, kids are less physically active than they used to be, and that has so many downstream health consequences. It's probably the biggest risk factor for long-term health is not having enough physical activity.
As we get into adolescent years, research says they need an hour of exercise 5 to 6 days a week. For kids who are athletes, that's practice, and that's easy, but not every kid is an athlete.
I'm especially troubled because what I see is shorter life expectancies for kids in this young generation today. And I think, how can that happen? How can that happen in our world? And then if you look at the research about physical activity,
dopamine and serotonin and endorphins and all these feel-good chemicals that our brains produce when we exercise, it is a natural high.
Playing helps the brain grow. Exercise repairs broken neurons.
Physical activity as a treatment can be just as effective as medication sometimes. And so not only does it prevent mental health issues, it actually can even treat mental health issues.
So more to come on that. But on behalf of the Community Health Endowment and the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, I want to thank you all for your time, for your expertise and your interest in being a part of this conversation. It seems like if we got our community moving, even in small ways every day, that we would see some pretty significant changes, I think, for everybody, and especially for kids. And so, yeah, thank you for being a part of the dialogue and the conversation. And thank you all for joining us as well online.